private jet accidents seem to be happening. We're going to be looking at the latest data of are these accidents happening, why they're happening, and then at the end of the video, so you need to stay to the end, we're going to talk about the solution, and we're going to be launching a new business that we've been working away at for the last year, and I'm sure you're going to like it, in particular if you are either looking to fly your own jet, or you're looking to learn to fly and then buy your own jet, or you've already just bought your own jet, or you've been flying your own jet for a while. This is certainly the video for you, so keep watching. So let's go straight into the presentation now here on BizJet TV, and I'm sure you're going to enjoy it. Now, more accidents are happening, and we're going to look at the data issued by the National Transport Safety Board, the NTSB, between 2014 and 2023. And this is what we're going to be looking at today and seeing, what the problems are. Now, the agenda, we're going to obviously have an introduction here, overall statistics between 2014 and 2023, accidents for phases of flight, the leading causes or the probable causes, notable trends and examples. We're going to look at 3 cases, prevention strategies, key takeaways, and then, of course, at the end of the video, you hear about the innovative solution that we've come up with. We're launching this new company, and you're going to be very interested, particularly if you are a pilot owner and you own your own jet and you fly it yourself. This is going to be really, really, really good for you. So what is business aviation? Business aviation, we took turbine-powered aircraft, meaning jets and the turboprops, primarily Part 91 and Part 135. They're safer than personal general aviation, but high visibility when the accidents occur. So this is what we're talking about here. So we're not talking about the little single-engine Cessnas flying around at 2,000 feet. We're talking about, the stuff that launches up, to 20,000, 25,000 feet and above. That's what the business aviation is. Now, the overall statistics between 2014 and 2023, as we can see here, are between 150 to 250 total accidents. And fatal accidents about 12 to 18 globally, 8 to 15 in the US. 2023 we saw a spike of business jets, saw the highest fatal accidents in a decade. The accident rate, of course, of business aviation is lower than that of personal general aviation, as you can see here, 0.4 to 0.8 for every 100,000 hours compared to 5 to 6 for every 100,000 hours in the personal GA. So that's what's happening here on the stat front. Now, accidents by phase of flight. Now, landing is probably the most critical part of the flight. 40 to 50% of the accidents happen upon landing, and it's, runway excursions, gear issues kind of been the cause. Then you've got takeoff and climb, 20 to 25%. They're the most lethal. Remember the Air India accident on the Boeing 787 that happened earlier this year. That was on takeoff. And then you've got approach and go around, 15 to 20%. En route, 10%. And manoeuvring under 10%, but these are highly lethal, especially when you're manoeuvring at low level. Now, leading causes, pilot factors, the human factor, 65 to 80% of the case, it's the pilot's fault. Number 1 being loss of control in flight, or LOCI as it's called, a former NTSB most wanted list item. And then you've got unstable approaches, where there's been a failure to go around, CFIT or control flight into terrain, and runway excursions. The runway excursions happen, when you overrun the runway on takeoff or on landing. Now, leading causes, other factors can be mechanical failures between 15 to 20%, usually engine, gear, hydraulics, but rarely is the mechanical failure the sole cause of an accident. It's usually one of the causes that then lead to the accident. We've got weather, 10 to 15%, in particular when you're going from VFR, visual flight rules, into Indian Mike Charlie, which is instrument meteorological conditions. You've got icing in that. That's caused accidents. And then the emerging one is hypoxia at high altitude jets, in particular if flown by single pilot. That's kind of risky. Now, notable 2023 spike and examples. US business jet fatal accidents are highest in years. Runway excursions being one of the main causes, aborted takeoffs, stalls and spins. So that's telling you, that there's an issue there, probably with training. And but there's many years with 0 fatal Part 135 jet accidents. So that's the positive there. Now, prevention, safety management systems. Now, an SMS system can help if you have a safety management system installed on your airplane, which monitors you, how you fly, and reports back to the insurance company. And that is certainly a thing with the airlines. Various airlines I've flown for, we have a safety management system which would monitor how we fly. And if we went outside the parameters, it would flag up, and we get pulled into the office and for tea and biscuits, as they say, and we'd have a chat about what happened and why we think what happened. and what we learned from that, and how we weren't going to do it again. That happened to me once because I came in fast. Only happened once. So so that's safety management system, really, really important. Prevention training and procedures, recurrent simulator, UPRT, which is upset recovery training, go-arounds, stall recovery. These are all things that you need to be doing when you're doing your recurrent, and very often these aren't on the list. So I always advocate doing more simulator training to incorporate these kind of things. Mandatory pre-takeoff control checks, that's another thing. People aren't using their checklists. Stabilized approach criteria. Very often accidents happen because you're coming in high and fast and you don't go around, so we need to put some stabilized approach criteria in there to help and prevent that from happening. And going around is not a shameful thing. If you get yourself in a situation, it's always best to go around and try and be clever and land the airplane and end up off the end of the runway, killing everybody on board. And then we've got angle of attack indicators and envelope protection. So these are the kind of things that we can put in place to prevent these kind of accidents from happening. Now, prevention, data and culture, flight data monitoring, as I said, crew resource management, CRM. It's another thing if you're flying as a crew, is being able to coordinate with the other pilot, when you need checklists and things like that. Call for the checklist, who's doing what, that you've got the pilot flying, the pilot monitoring, and everybody has their role. One reads a checklist, the other one does, and you've got to communicate to each other what you're doing. You don't just press a button without letting the other guy know. This kind of thing is important, so it takes training. So crew resource management training is important. Fatigue management as well. The AmSafe checklist. Fatigue is another thing that's been causing a lot of accidents. So are you fit to fly? And then participating in data sharing, which is another important thing that can help improve flight safety. Key takeaways: business aviation remains extremely safe when best practices are followed. So that's important. Every time I've looked into an accident, these best practices have not been in place. We've seen this 2023 spike is a wake-up call to focus on loss of control in flight, approaches, procedures. That's another thing that needs to be built into your training program. The goal is to have zero accidents through a proactive culture, because safety is no accident. Safety comes with proper training. So let's look at case study number 1. It was an unstable approach and failure to go around. Michael DeMeyer, Phoenix Jet Cessna Citation 550, was coming into Camden, South Carolina. A successful entrepreneur was flying it. He's flying his own Citation. On a visual approach in good weather, he became too fast and high on final. He continued. He was unstable below 500 feet. He floated, touched down long and fast, over on the runway, struck an embankment. Airplane caught fire and everybody died. So that could have been avoided by just doing a go around. So pilot's continuation on unstable approach, as I said, and failure to initiate a go around. And with rigorous stabilized approach criteria training, mandatory no fault go around culture, this could have been avoided. So this is really, really important. Case 2, aerodynamic stall, LOCI, loss of control in flight on approach. Nathan Minig was flying his Embraer Phenom 100 into Gaithersburg in Maryland, as I would call it. Now, you Americans are gonna shoot me. Maryland, as you say. Or Maryland, as we say here in England. But anyway, apart from the joke there, he was a physician, an entrepreneur, and owner-pilot of his very light jet. Icing conditions encountered on the ILS approach. The pilot allowed the airspeed to decay while troubleshooting ice protection. The icing boots were off. The airplane stalled at 400 feet above ground, rolled inverted, and impacted some houses. So again, in this case, it was his poor knowledge of icing conditions that caused this. He failed to maintain airspeed, proper stall recovery and icing, lack of specific upset recovery training. Yep, that's another one. Preventable with full flight similar upset recovery training. Angle of attack awareness is now mandated for Part 135, and it's strongly recommended for Part 91. So again, this type of training wasn't provided because this guy just flew his own jet. Case study 3, hypoxia, induced loss of control in flight. This was a Pilatus PC-12 flown by Louis Stem in Chamberlain, South Dakota. It was fatal for the pilot and the 8 passengers. He was a prominent South Dakotan entrepreneur, philanthropist, flying his own single turboprop. He departed rapidly, climbing through flight level 250. Failed to report to air traffic control. Classic pressurization failure. Pilot became incapacitated from hypoxia. The aircraft flew on autopilot until the fuel ran out, and then the airplane spiraled. So NTSB probable cause, pilot incapacitation due to hypoxia from loss of pressurization. It can be prevented with FAA mandated high altitude physiological training, which is a chamber ride or equivalent, and recurrent hypoxia recognition and rapid donning oxygen mask drills. So again, it's down to training. So these three owner-entrepreneur tragedies and many more show that even experienced successful pilots are vulnerable without disciplined recurrent scenario-based training. You have to invest in the same level of training you demand from your professional flight department. Your life depends on it. So training is really, really important. When you buy your own airplane, you can't just go for the basic training and off you go. You need ongoing training. And when I joined the airlines, we had a training department, and this training department trained us continuously. We had line checks. We had, stuff we needed to read up on every week. Things were changing. Procedures were improving. We were always learning something new and improving. And flying with different people as well gives you different ideas of things and that. And this is what you get when you're an airline pilot. But you don't get this when you are flying your own airplane. You are basically in control, which is a dangerous thing, really. So this is what we've come up with. We're launching Airavat, the Ultimate Aviators Club. Now, for those of you wondering what Airavat is, and this is why we've got the elephant there. Airavat is a mythological Indian elephant that protects the heavens. So this is where we got inspiration from in calling this Aviators Club Airavat. And it's basically for jet owners who fly themselves. It's your personal flight department. We handle every element of your flight training and safety management, whether you're stepping up to a jet, preparing for a type rating, or fine-tuning your skills. So this is the kind of thing we're doing. So think of us as your own flight department. We're going to take care of all your training. Now, as a member of the club, you get private training concierge, which coordinates all planning and scheduling and your progress. 2 virtual coaching sessions per month with top airline and military instructors. We've got a whole group of 50-plus instructors that we're going to be using to offer this service. Option to fly with a senior instructor on your own jet. So it's not just, going and doing your sim training once a year. We have instructors that come out and fly with you on your jet and see how you're implementing these things in your everyday flying. Then we've got access to a video learning library and weekly live webinars held by our instructors. So you'll be able to learn directly from them. And they'll be, we'll be picking subjects every week. It could be icing. It could be going into bad weather. It could be runway performance. We could be doing one specifically on the Honda jet and on recent Honda jet accidents and what you can do to prevent those from happening. So we'd have a Honda jet instructor at that webinar, and anybody that flies a Honda jet will be interested to attend that webinar, or alternatively, if you're thinking of buying a Honda jet, you may want to listen in as well. And then we've got upset recovery training in L-39s and CI-211 fighter trainers. And this is really, really important to do this in an actual airplane and experience what it's like to fly upside down in a jet or do a stall at 35,000 feet compared to a stall at 10,000 feet and see how the aircraft develops and into situations and behaves in a different situation. So this is the kind of thing that we're offering here for the members of Airavat. The other thing we're going to be doing, and this is really, really super unique, is Boeing and Airbus type ratings. Now, you're probably thinking to yourself, well, I'm buying myself a Honda jet. What do I want to learn to fly a Boeing and an Airbus for? But, we've done our research, and as we were doing our research, we came across a number of entrepreneurs that actually had gone and done Boeing type ratings. And from one of our partners, he actually went out and got a rating on every single Boeing that's out there. And he flies his own Citation Mustang now. He's just got a Citation 10 Plus, and he was telling us how he benefited from that training and how that training has translated into him flying his own jet. So we've come up with a special type rating and we like to start people off on the 737 next generation. It's delivered over 6 months, so it's not 30 days as usual type ratings are. So this can be done in installments. Some of it's done online, some of it's done in person. We've got virtual reality as well that we're going to be using for this training. So it's very, very unique. You end up doing a lot more hours in your training. There's jet orientation included in it. There's some line-oriented flight training included in this as well. And then we will send out our instructors after you've completed this to fly with you on your own jet, so you can then translate what you learned flying the Boeing onto your onto your jet. And the other thing we're looking at organizing now is also flying an actual Boeing 737. So we're starting off on the Boeing 737. We'll be offering this on the Airbus A320 as well, and also other Boeings and Airbuses later on. But we want to start this off on this. And the beauty of this is once you get a type rating on a Boeing 737, that check that you do is valid. So you don't have to do a check in your own airplane as well. You can do that every 2 years. But, we do advocate, doing as much training as possible to stay safe and using our instructors, both, to coach you one-on-one online, but also to use our services to have our instructors come out and fly with you at least 2 to 3 times, maybe a month, and see how you're doing. A bit like, when you hire a golf pro to look at your golf swing and see and how to help you to improve your golf. The same thing here, but, this is not only going to improve your flying, but it's going to keep you a lot safer, and also make sure that you don't get into those situations that these 3 people got into and then ended up crashing and dying. So that's kind of what we're doing here. So we encourage you to go to the Airavat website, is the flyairavat.com. I will post the link below here. Apply for membership. There's a form to be filled in. You go to the website and then you can click on the link there for the form, fill that in, and then the next thing will happen is you'll be booked in to do a one-to-one call on video about your training needs and everything, and then we'll customize the whole training around your needs and get this working for you. So that's all from me on this episode of BizJet TV. I hope you enjoyed this. Remember, there's over 1,200 videos here on BizJet TV, so look around here at what else we've been producing lately. But above all, go to the flyairavat.com website and check this out. And if you are thinking of buying your own airplane, maybe even thinking of learning to fly, but your wife's not too keen on you learning to fly, and that we have a way, we've got a whole system in place, even for people that haven't flown yet, and we will organize all your training from the first flying lesson all the way up to your jet, and look after you along the way, make sure you get the right training, you choose the right jet for you, and you have instructors coming to fly with you periodically to make sure you're safe, and you get all the training that's needed to stay safe and do a good job and become part of the Ultimate Aviators Club, Airavat. That's all from Fabrizio Pauli here on BizJet TV, and I'll see you on the next one.